Bum 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 bum. The Peter Like Show. Bum 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 bum. I hope my streaming is working correctly. Yesterday it was lagging like crazy. I think what happened was I had a simulation that was going on. It was using all of the RAM. All right, hopefully it's working now. Well, happy Friday. I hope you guys enjoyed the shortened week this week. Monday was Memorial Day, obviously. But I have a proposal. I have a proposal that we could have a long weekend every weekend without sacrificing productivity and without having to work really long hours during the rest of the week. And I came up with this idea when I was in sixth grade, if you could believe it. Correct? Could you please leave a emoji if my stream is working correctly? I just want to make sure because yesterday I ran into trouble like this, and it old school Dave. If my stream is working correctly, please write the like emoji. Yesterday I had the same error show up on my screen, and then it didn't play correctly. So as soon as you see the stream working correctly, please write the like emoji on the chat so I know that my stream is working correctly. Let me close a couple of simulations. Okay. Anyways, when I was in sixth grade, I came up with a solution that would allow us to have a 3-day weekend every week without having to sacrifice productivity and without having to work. And it was so obvious that I felt stupid explaining it to people, but at the same time, it's very difficult for people to accept it. There are a couple of barriers, and I'll get to that in a second. Oh, you hit the dislike. Is my stream freezing again? Oh well, I'm going to go on. But it was so obvious, and this was 30 years ago. If somebody had told me that 30 years later nobody would listen to me, still, I think I would have killed somebody back then. This is so obvious. Anyway, what had happened was we had just had a 3-day weekend of some sort. Memorial Day, Labor Day, I can't remember which one, but we had just had a 3-day weekend, and we went back to school. And before I knew it, it was Friday again. I'm like, gee, I didn't need a shortened week. I just needed a 3-day weekend. And the solution jumped immediately to mind. Why can't we have 5-day work weeks followed by 3-day weekends every week? It was so obvious. Even though I was only 12 years old at the time, parents, and everybody's answer to me was, well, where are we going to get the 8th day from? But when I explained it to everybody's answer to me was, where are we going to get the 8th day from? Well, where did we get the 7 days from? Right? It's not like the planet does anything special every 7 days, right? It's not like if I suggested that we change the length of the day, yeah, where are we going to get those hours? That actually has a natural meaning to it, right? The 24-hour cycle has a natural meaning. Even the month, to some extent, has some natural meaning to it, right? But when I told my parents and my teacher, hey, we could have a long weekend every week just by working 5 days and taking a 3-day weekend. Where are we going to get that 8th day from? Well, where did we get the 7th from? I mean, some people are just so. I mean, this is a very naive example. This what so many people are so locked into their ways of thoughts, right? You remember 20 years ago, people were very confused about same-sex marriage, right? Today, people are so confused about the concept of marrying yourself or of a 3 or 4 person marriage, right? So somehow, even though we accept that marriage can be between two, unconventional couple, it still has to be between a couple. Why? It's just really people get locked into their ways of thought, right? But it's sad because I think we could be so much more productive if we had a 3-day weekend every week and still continue to work 5 days, right? Uh, I've seen schedules where people work really long hours on 4 days. I'm not going to be productive like that, right? I mean, it might work if you have some kind of job that's repetitive where you don't have to use your creativity. It doesn't work so well if your job requires any sort of creativity, right? I've also seen schedules where uh, people just binge work a certain number of weeks and then take a certain number of weeks off. Right? Again, you're not going to be productive, right? One thing I've never resolved, and I like this concept in theory, but I've never worked it out. Some people propose polyphasic sleeping, where you sleep in 2 or 3 segments a day, and it works well for me. Actually, I've done it usually unintentionally. By the way, I've been places where I felt unsafe sleeping, and so I end up sleeping in short bursts like that, and I actually sleep really well. So, for example, I sometimes like to take long distance drives, right? I live in Phoenix, Arizona right now, and I recently took a drive to Las Vegas. I'll sometimes drive to Seattle. And a drive like that, I typically do sleep polyphasically just because it's not really comfortable to sleep on the highway. And I actually do get away with sleeping a whole lot less when I do that, right? A typical 24-hour period, I might only sleep 3, 4 hours if I sleep polyphasically like that. The problem is, it works fine if all I'm doing is driving, right? What Where it doesn't work so well is if I need a train of thought, right? If I'm working, there's no way I can get any productive work done when I sleep polyphasically because I need a train of thought, right? And unfortunately, people who propose polyphasic sleeping never seem to address that question. I've asked it, and people seem to poo-poo it like it's no big deal. I mean, it might work if you work in manual labor kind of stuff. If you're a truck driver, sure, you might be able to get away with it, right? But if you work with anything involving creative, it doesn't affect your train of thought like that. Anyways, I propose this out there, right? We could have a 3-day weekend, but still work 5 days. It's such a simple idea that I don't know why it is not out there. I am going to. I don't know. I might write a proposal to. I don't. I don't know if there's been any proposals on work-life balance out there, right? 3-day weekends or so. I'm going to write my thoughts on that because I really do like having that 5-day work week. What I don't like is only having 2 days for the weekend, right? But it's not an either or, right? And I still remember, I still distinctly remember my sixth grade teacher saying, "Where are we going to get that 8th day from?" And I wish I had asked him, "Well, where did we get 7 from?" Right? I didn't think to ask him that at the time, right? But it's so stupid, right? It's kind of like asking. Trying to think what analogy I could give. Imagine you suggested to somebody that I'm trying to think. Uh, well, it's kind of like that marriage equality thing, right? People are stuck in their ways of thinking, right? Or it could be like asking somebody, uh, trying to think. S- some people wonder why we have to like right now as I speak, unfortunately, because a lot of metals are out of it, right? Of course, it'll be hard. It'll be harder and harder to mine, right? Eventually, right? I want you to rewrite the Bible for the 8th day. Well, uh, I used to deal with people who thought I was 16 years old when I quit drinking soda, and people used to worry for me that I would be malnourished by not consuming sugar because I quit eating all refined white sugar. I was 17 years old, and my parents were worried for me. And I asked my parents, "Well, what do you think people did before refined white sugar was invented? I mean, did we not have great things back then? Did we not, have great innovations and invent new things and spread our species out and our population would we went from 0 to at least 1 or 2 billion without any refined white sugar, right? And so that used to confuse my family for some reason, right? People just get so locked in their ways of life, right? All right, please pray for me by leaving a like on this video. This is the Peter Like Show. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Like Show. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Like Show. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Like Show. Bum 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 bum.